All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Dr. Stone, Season 1, Episode 5. All right,
oh boy.
Senku, how are you going to get out of this one?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, I think we can just say that at this point, it is pretty safe to assume that Senku is actually dead.
Right,
and
absolutely.
And the show is going to transition to Tsukasa and Taiju and Yuzuriha being the main characters.
But it's obviously going to be a time skip, and Yuzuriha and Taiju's child will be the main character.
And it will be named Senku, yes.
Oh my god, biggest brain move.
Yeah,
no,
of course, definitely.
But seriously here, we now have a situation where we've been given tons of characterization and backstory for Senku.
Yep,
we get a lot more of where he's coming from now. Tsukasa is really like he will do whatever it takes to make his goal happen here.
And yet he's not one note because he didn't want to kill him. So,
but what happened here will determine a lot about his character specifically.
Because the sound effect sounded like the blade slicing flesh.
Yeah, so either Senku big-brained around this situation or Tsukasa held back. Either way,
someone came in to save him.
Or someone came in to save them, which is another thing that was brought up in the last episode. There are other humans out there.
Yep.
And upon thinking about it, like in between recordings, this is what I might have, I kind of came up with. One of the things that was a reason why I was a little bit hesitant about Senku, specifically in the previous part, was that he selectively revived people. Like, he selectively brought people back out of the petrification. But what if he didn't? What if he had other people out there that he had already revived in those 6 months? And he knew that those people were out there, just out there doing this thing. And we haven't been introduced to them because we've been seeing things specifically through Taiju.
And let's face it, Senku wouldn't tell the others about this because then the secret would be revealed. So, okay.
It's just a thought that I had.
And then maybe the smoke is also specifically to
signal for help, potentially.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that could definitely be a thing.
Just a thought I had. But we're going to find out a lot of stuff probably this episode. The confrontation led to this cliffhanger. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Okay, Senku with the biggest brain of move in that he purposefully manipulated Tsukasa to think that he had killed him or made it impossible for him to be revived, essentially.
And he would just die eventually.
And he would just die eventually. But
nope.
Senku, wow!
All right.
Oh! So when he was doing that, was he applying the petrification?
No. There was already some petrification that was left there that he hadn't gotten rid of.
So we didn't get rid of it. How?
Well, in the same way, there was some still left on Yuzuriha's foot. So
he was aware of it probably over the course of just going through the whole process of waking up alone, solo.
Yep.
And maybe just left it on intentionally?
Yeah, just because, whatever. I still seem to be able to function just fine without it. And granted, when he woke up, he didn't know about the miracle fluid because he somehow woke up without it. So... So...
He woke up, it seems like, through a combination that he maintained consciousness of sorts.
Right.
Over the course by counting. We knew that. But then he had a moment where he's like, this is the time... Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. He basically mantra'd himself into waking up.
Yeah.
Now, that's a really amazing thing. However, it wasn't something where it was this, breakout, Taiju kind of level moment.
Yep.
It was like, okay, well, I cracked open 30% of my body, then the rest will have to, be like a bird in an egg,
Now,
okay.
One of the things that is kind of interesting, because that does tell us some things. That basically the miracle fluid, it's not that it changes the composition of everything, it just helps the stone break down, right?
Right.
But they are still fully people underneath or maybe not, because when Tsukasa breaks them open, there's stone all the way through. So
so what I think it might be a combination of is that it's literally a fluid that interacts with the connection between the body and the petrification. So the body
and he explained it early on, but...
Right, but at the very least here, that was something that I was like, oh, crap, right. The previous wounds or injuries or what have you will get healed based on that,
right.
based on that bit there.
And that's all part of the premise. So, it's,
but just the ability for him to see this out all the way is just fantastic.
And it makes sense because, like, if there's something, like, because even if he didn't necessarily see these specific circumstances, he's like, okay, this is a card that could be helpful later, right? And then once he's like, okay, Tsukasa's here, all right, this is going to be a problem. But he is undisputably capable of killing me. Right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that any of us can really do to stop him from killing us if he wants to, and we're there. We can use that. That means that he won't be picky about how he kills us, right? Because he can do it in any way he wants.
Yeah.
So, okay, then as a last wish, just be like, hey, I get it. You're going to kill me. Just could you make it painless? Like that. That I'd really appreciate that. And, and then it's like, oh, yeah, sure. But there you go.
They really found a way to make this work perfectly in this episode, because it had to be something where either Senku big-brained them or Tsukasa held back, and it was both.
Right.
By Tsukasa not using the blade, which he even told us, like Senku basically told him, like, don't do that. That's not logical for either of us, He's like, please, oh God. He's like, I'm 10 billion% certain that this will probably work.
There's a part of me that really wonders if Senku is just basically an adrenaline junkie, and he loves the idea of the thrill of, I'm gambling here. Like
maybe
if I'm right, I win. If I'm not, I lose.
I think you can take that and apply it more so to the idea of an experiment. An experiment isn't a gamble. Because a gamble is just chance.
Right.
If anything, he uses logic to influence things towards a specific outcome.
And it's still a risk, but it's something where he's testing a hypothesis.
He is testing a hypothesis. Yep, it is the scientific method.
Right.
And he doesn't know whether or not it's going to work until he tests it.
And because of the thrills of the show, it's something where, it's not like he gets to try it again and again until it works, right? If it didn't work, he'd be dead,
right? But what a cool way to set up, like, everything in the show thus far with Senku and the premise, set up this moment to be able to work. Yeah. So therefore, they did a great job with it.
They did the Eisen thing of you went for the back of the base of the back of the neck. Yep, because that makes sense, right? It's the best spot. However, what you don't realize is
that I've prepared for
specifically that.
Yeah, I loved, though, that Taiju and Yuzuriha were absolutely necessary in order to make this work.
Yes.
Because Senku, being out of commission here, he cannot influence directly what they do here.
Yeah.
Other than things that would go off, but that he would hope that they would remember based on their relationship as friends. Yeah. And the idea that the power of friendship is literally what instigated all of these things here.
Sure.
Not just the act of, trying to protect your nakama, but also being good friends. They would remember who
that he doesn't believe in Kobayashi Maru's.
Yes, and all those things tying in here is just rather cool.
And one of the other things that I really appreciate about this is that it wasn't that the petrification was there and that protected him and he played dead. No, it actually broke the thing that it was supposed to break, but because it was still petrified, and they established before, small cracks, like they established it specifically for things like this.
Yes.
For this exact thing.
Yeah.
It gets mended, which makes sense, right? Because if you have that kind of petrification, you wouldn't really have a show of any kind of, because stone's very brittle, and a lot of times, and
even though that's not stone, necessarily,
right? But
it's something,
right? But the idea that while our squishiness as human beings does cause usually trouble, there are times where it's very helpful.
Sure.
Because otherwise, I can imagine a lot of the people that they unpetrify, their arm would just like half of it would already be broken off or something.
That's why I think they also established that petrification thing, doing that healing process there.
Yep.
That's something that's exciting, though. I wonder if in the future will they utilize the petrification process in a positive way to apply it to people that were already, brought back with the revival stuff there, and be like, hey, they need to be petrified so that they can be healed up really quick because nature is
now,
scary.
I don't know how they'd be able to figure out how to do that because
I'm talking way in the future.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon.
But okay, so they did that, and we haven't actually seen Senku wake up. That is important. Now we got the backstory and all the stuff of what he did in the 6 months before Taiju woke up, which was great. I'm really glad that they went over that because that was one of the things that because I totally get why they didn't, right? Because it wouldn't be as exciting out the gate if you then had them be like, all right, now I have to work on like chipping off these stones, figure out how to get them to a sharp edge, make rope, all this stuff, right? Like I personally find that interesting, but that's not like that's not initially like thrill engaging kind of a thing, right?
For most people, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So they got to Tsukasa, right? And they had the immediate conflict of that. But the fact that they went back and showed it is something that I very much appreciate because in a lot of ways that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I feel like once you get like rope and things like that and whatnot, most people would be able to figure something out. It just might take way longer if they're not someone like Senku. But I think it would take someone pretty much like Senku to be able to do all that stuff.
And what's cool about it is that Senku didn't have all that knowledge prepped.
Yes. Right.
He had to actually learn it using his own critical thinking skills, which is way better than my own headcanon, which was
how did
he know all this prior to this?
Yes.
He wasn't preparing for this, which led me to the wrong conclusion that he somehow was planning all this.
Which is really something that oftentimes isn't done in anime or even other like stories and stuff for a really smart person, but that's what makes the smart person smart. It's not that they know things, it's that they know how to apply things. So if they don't know something, they work on figuring it out, right?
Yeah, and that shows their intelligence. I would say that oftentimes I just know things.
I have a really good memory
or what have you.
Yeah,
that's kind of boring story-wise.
Sure.
It doesn't lead to conflict. It leads to the audience being intentionally put in the dark regarding things and then just expected to be like, you don't have to question what they say. They just say smart stuff. Yeah. It's kind of the Star Trek equivalent of how they solve the plot.
Yeah, reverse the polarity and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
In this, Senku is more or less actually saying, nah, screw all that, even bringing up essentially a Kobayashi Maru scenario here, and being like, I will utilize all the variables in my environment, manipulate them in a way to bring about the best logical conclusion I can get.
Yep.
And that is who he is. He is smart because of that.
Yeah.
And then obviously because in a lot of ways he was raised in an environment that encouraged experimentation.
Right. He really applied himself.
He was
to
smart
take
in the beginning.
Of the intellect. Yeah.
He was born with intelligence.
Right.
But I love the idea of applied intelligence being something that has a real factor here.
Yeah.
He has a heart and a passion for experimentation, which leads to a lot of these cool moments here. I loved that Tsukasa was genuinely worried about Taiju just raging out.
Yep.
And instead, once Yuzuriha saw okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm completely calm. I was like, are you?
Yeah.
And then he is. And he hucks the molder, and I was just like, wait. I'm like, this is either the dumbest move or the most brilliant thing Taiju has ever done. And it was the most brilliant thing.
Right, because like at first I was like, wait, is he hoping that Tsukasa will just stay in one position and not step like just to the left, right? Like oh no, it's that he's playing dumb so that way he has his attention and then Yuzuriha is able to do her thing.
He doesn't take Yuzuriha into account until it's too late, which is something that I actually like. I really like what the show is doing with Yuzuriha. There are multiple moments where she's displaying like ridiculous competence in really cool key moments.
Yeah.
At moments where we still like didn't know like what was her gimmick.
Yeah.
And now I think they've already like started to
they were kind of on the nose with it. It's like she's very dexterous.
She's very dexterous.
Okay, cool.
I'm like, yes. Yeah. If Tsukasa is strength and we're taking this into D&D terms, and Taiju is constitution, that means that she would naturally be dexterity.
Yep.
And then Senku, of course, with intelligence. Now we need our wisdom and charisma.
Yep.
Yes.
And given the fact that apparently the title of the next episode is Two Nations,
we're probably going to get charisma.
Yeah, or one of those two. Like
one of those two.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, that is something that's really cool for Yuzuriha, especially because up till like a lot of the recent stuff, she had been I am the statue that must be protected, you know, and then okay, I'm here now, but she didn't really have a way to contribute before, right? Because it was something where Taiju is the super, like, you know, like he has the high constitution, Senku has the intelligence, they make a great team. How does she fit into all this other than just by being the person that Taiju likes?
Yes,
you know?
she had a moment in the past that was
pretty
cool.
Well, right, and that's what I thought she was going to be doing, where it's I have the heart, the whatever,
right.
Because the fact that she was like, nope, let him kill me, you know, it's like, okay, all right, but then here's another situation where it's not just that she has the because I feel like that can be done a bit too easily, or it's done a bit too. It's done a lot. It's done often,
right.
Where you have the girl that's sort of like I'm too good-natured, right? Like kind of a thing. Whereas here, the fact that she's like, oh yeah, I'll get the gunpowder and huck it at him, and then you know he'll break it. And
yes, what you're saying is there's a trade a lot of times that's made that doesn't even need to be made, which is you can't be pure and competent.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, you have to be pure and incompetent. If you're competent, then you can't be pure.
Exactly.
And this show, every single character that is pure is also competent.
Right.
So far. Yeah. Taiju, completely pure. Yep. And completely competent in his specific
own way. And Senku was hyper competent, and then they showed how he was also a pure good boy, right?
Yes.
And even with Tsukasa, even though he's kind of, you know, a murderous, you know, person, it's still something where he's not just a murderous person, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, but that's definitely a thing, you know.
It's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, it's like that quote from Brooklyn 99, you know, cool motive, still murder. Yeah. like it's that thing where Tsukasa is basically like, yes, you could have been my first friend. I'm like, oh, that's great. Sad boy, you're still intending to murder him, right. So okay, you deserve getting your clothes blown off or what have you.
Well, okay, let's be real. That was
that was something that should not have done anything anyway. He should have just been able to dodge. Speed.
Totally. Well,
so having it be this way is just more badass.
It was totally rule of cool. But as far as you deserve to get your clothes burned off, I think even without the murderous and the murder and everything, I'm pretty sure they needed to have that happen at some point, just in general, you know?
For sure.
I feel like that this is like the equivalent of like the Man of Steel scene where he like walks out of the fire, like, and his clothes have been burnt off and everything, right. And like,
yeah.
But,
Senku getting a solitary bit of focus. I genuinely hope that they carry on with that a little bit.
Yeah, I would really love that.
It looks like in the next episode, it's going to be talking about basically the two divergent civilizations that start to grow from this, because they both have access to the revival fluid.
You're talking Tsukasa.
Tsukasa, because Tsukasa should know how to make everything now. It might take him time, but given that he is a beast of a human being, it's not going to take him as much time as we probably hope.
Right. Although theoretically they could go back there and trash the place. And then run away. But yeah.
But I kind of want a little bit of Senku approaching that moment where he got his neck broken with a little bit of his own internal thoughts and what have you kind of added in there. Because then we'll start to see where the idea and when the idea started to pop into his mind. If I just have to go and rewatch the first few episodes just to see it, that's cool.
I think that's probably what it's going to be, because they like once they pulled all those details that they'd established earlier. It's like, oh yeah, no, I totally get it, right? Because and from the very beginning, he was very open, even to Tsukasa, about the fact that we're probably going to end up trying to kill each other at some point, you know.
Especially once he broke a statue, right?
Right, exactly.
He's like, oh, well, that's who you are. Okay,
yeah. What I really hope that they do, though, is since the previous episode, they introduced the idea that there are other people that are alive and out there. Right. And we saw one of them, albeit very briefly. I would love for them to actually run into those people, whether it's something, but they could also totally do the thing where Tsukasa goes around and starts reviving specific people, getting more cohorts and stuff. But
more high schoolers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that one guy that was in the magazine booklet or what have you there. I'm going to go and find that bit if you just...
Yeah, it was in the flashback bit. Yeah.
It was on the book that the guy was talking about
Magic
here.
Psychology Asagiri Gen.
Okay, gotcha. So it's a little bit of kind of that... Like, ooh, you know, it's the equivalent of like tarot cards and probably horoscopes and stuff. Where a lot of people believe in it, but it's more just for the entertainment value than
so the question is, will he be the like charisma? Well, okay, I mean, not that anyone would trust him as far as they could throw him just from that face, but
that's the thing. Charisma people don't have to be trusted.
They just have to be.
You just have to be able to be convinced by them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's probably the master of charm and persuasion and deception.
Understanding how people work, like reading people. You
know?
And that could be something where he could compete with Senku, even if he's not necessarily as smart as Senku, because he understands how Senku thinks.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we do know there's an old guy at some point, so that could be where the wisdom comes from.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's going to be where the pervert comes from. Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else that's really big to bring up? I guess if anything, just the fact that they brought up the Kobayashi Maru scenario, and in a scenario that was kind of like that, Senku did do the thing to try and save everyone. But I love that in this situation, before this, Yuzuriha basically was presented with a similar kind of thing, and she chose basically to sacrifice herself, which is the opposite of what the other kid in the high school was like. You would try to save yourself, right? Basically showcasing how heroic she is amidst everyone else here, and that she deserves to be in the triumvirate of main characters here, at least for the protagonists.
One other thing that I thought was really cool was the fact that, because I figured this would kind of happen, because, okay, Tsukasa, with the way they set him up, and especially with the whole idea of how they're like going through the different stats and whatnot, it felt like Tsukasa was almost in the show too early, because the conflict rose to this level where it's like, they're going to be trying to kill each other. How do we do that without then having him just sort of be like a forgettable one-off character that the conflict happens and whoever wins, I mean, it's probably going to be the protagonist in some way, because otherwise the show would end if like they all died, right?
Sure.
How do we keep it going? Is it going to be something where they manage to defeat him and then he becomes a friend, or or what? But the fact that they were able to essentially escape, and not just escape, but make him think that Senku was dead, so that way he doesn't have a reason to chase them, means that now they can essentially have defeated him, still have a run-in with him later when it's on their terms, and then they can actually have it be a conflict that gets taken to the truest extreme because they're ready for it. Hopefully. Yeah.
I liked the monkeys. They were a funny little addition. Although I do like the fact that they showed them watching as if this was the most fascinating thing they'd ever seen. Because one of the things that's, I would say, rather interesting is that if you were in this stone world or what have you, there'd probably not be a lot of stuff happening.
Nope.
Things would be rather quiet. Very there's nature and animals and what have you. But the fact that he kind of understands them, even though they're talking mostly in their head, it's not something that he necessarily has to understand. But the idea of that's a thing that can be a recurring kind of aspect of the show, is that nature reacting and responding to humanity coming back as being this thing that it does alter the environment so dramatically that they would react to it in a way that is, oh, this is a big deal. We're probably going to just stay away from this area because now this new species is turf.
Right.
So we're going to go back over there. Especially because they've never seen humans before.
Last thing is that I loved that no matter what Senku tried to do, he could not make fire with just his hands and two sticks. Like, he needed the rope bow thing in order to make it work. Because, if you've ever tried...
If you ever tried it, you will be at it for hours, and it just won't light up in a full flame. You might get some smell. You might smell it a little bit.
It might
smoke.
warm up a little.
Yeah.
But enough to combust?
No. So I love him cursing also
that was
Japan's humidity. That was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Like, Japan and your humidity. All right. Good episode. Really good episode. Looking forward to the next one. If you want to see the next episode's reaction discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jake about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yeah, that's right. Battle Lines. It's awesome. It's a sci-fi novel written by yours truly, and it's on Amazon. Link in the description down below in both hardback and ebook. Go get it.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.